This is a cold conversion blade vortex Pathfinder. It has a pretty standard looking skill tree for the build. We have some ascendancies here with a bunch of flash charges gained, flash charges, some duration for our BV. And then all of those flash charges nodes are also mana nodes. So we turn that mana into mind over matter. We reserve our mana not at all using Hatred and Essence Worm. Essence Worm makes it reserve no mana, so it counteracts the downside of Supreme Ego. And this is like all one big synergistic build. If you've been paying attention to like the kinds of builds of people playing when they're playing Blade Vortex, or if you poke around on websites like POB Ninja, you've probably seen a build like this before. I've been meaning to play this, so I am now playing this, and I think it's super fun. I'm playing it in SSF, which means my gear is garbage, but listen, even then, my damage is about 1 mil on single target, and listen, it's fine. It's getting the job done for now, and it's really enjoyable to play. So where's the defenses come from? So first off, it's mind over matter, right? We are not aggro. We're not phase aggro. We don't want to cut our armor in half. And instead of spending the points, speccing all the way over to these nodes, we'd rather just get hit, right? And mitigate the damage. So instead of stacking up like 7,000 HP, we have 4.7k HP and 3.2k mana. I could probably get a little bit more of both of these. If I were in hardcore, I think I might want bigger values. But honestly, I feel pretty tanky right now. So I want to talk about where the tankiness comes from, right? So we don't have anything that says like reduced damage taken on the tree. Our percent life value is relatively low. We've got some mana. We've got the mind over matter. We're not Cloak of Defiance, but we do have some defensive gearing going on. So I want to finish showing you everything that's on the skill tree so that nothing's hidden. Some chaos res, some mana, some damage, some life. Pretty normal looking stuff. All right, so let's go look at POB real quick. Like this. So in POB, we can see, if you haven't done this in the past, come over to the configuration tab in any of the characters that you're playing. In configuration on the top left here, we can say like, okay, this is Cyrus, this is Awakening level 8. We can say effective HP, EHP calculation mode. I'm going to leave this at average. You can get super specific if you want to. You can look like melee, projectile, spell, or projectile spell. But I'm going to leave this at average for now. And let's go look at the calculation tab. Click. Scroll down here to the effective health pool at the very bottom. This is some information that you can see. I think this was added maybe during Harvest League or so, but ever since I realized that this was added into Path of Building, I've been like using this constantly. I think this is an amazing resource for trying to estimate how your character is going to feel when they're confronted with some kind of damage, right? So if you want your characters to not feel so flimsy, then maybe this is something that you'll be interested in too. So my effective hit pool, you can see that I have about 62,000 effective HP against a Fizz hit, 53,000 against lightning, 78,000 against cold, 53, so cold and lightning are about the same, and then only 10,000 because I've got low chaos res right here. So only 10,000 against chaos. So where is that coming from, right? Click on Blade Vortex up here just for the sake of it. So where are these numbers coming from? You can even hover over this, right? We can say like, okay, so total life protected. It says like we have my unreserved mana is 3,200. We have 30% of the damage is taken from mana before life. So these calculations come in, right? As you hover over these, you can see like where these damage numbers are coming from. All the way at the top, you can see sources of reduced damage taken or conversion mechanics, right? If you're taking physical damage as elemental damage, or taking physical damage as chaos, elemental damage as chaos, things like divine flesh, you can see those when you hover your mouse over this stuff here. So where is my tankiness coming from? Well, I tongue and joke answered flasks when somebody asked that question. I forgot to fortify. I have fortify. I tongue in cheek answered the question by saying flasks previously. Basically, with no flasks up, I only have about 20,000 effective HP. We've been aiming our characters to be about 30,000 HP in general. 30,000 seems to be like a nice spot of like, okay, nice, you hit this benchmark. If you want to go worry about something else, go for it. But if you're less than 30,000 effective HP for your average configuration against Cyrus, maybe you could invest in some more defenses, right? Maybe get some endurance charges. Maybe get some Fizz taken as ally. Maybe get a Basalt Flask, right? So less than 30k, maybe you want more. More than 30k, nice. If you want to keep working on it, fine. But that's kind of the sweet spot of like at least that much. So for my character, I said, my damage or my mitigation all comes from flasks. And kind of a little bit. I mean, I'm a Pathfinder, right? My Pathfinders, my flasks are basically always up. I get my chance for my flasks not to consume charges. My flask gain charges every 3 seconds. I have a bunch of nodes on the tree that say increase flask charges gained. I have this amazing node right here on my medium cluster jewel. This thing says gain alchemist genius when you use a flask. And if I hover over that in game, you can see where that comes from or what it says, right? Alchemist genius says 20% increased flask charges gained and increased effective flasks by 20% for 4 seconds whenever you use a flask, which is always, I always have this buff. It's awesome. So this is a really, really strong node for a medium cluster jewel. It's like busted. It's super, super good. Every build, but especially so on a Pathfinder. So if we have our flasks all the time, what does that give us, right? So I happen to be using this shield, and I just want to point this out real quick. It's the best shield that I have. I'm currently playing SSF. This is +2 maximum resistances while I have no endurance charges. So on the left side, you can see that I'm 77 max res over here. I'll toggle the shield off in a bit so you can see what the mitigation might look like otherwise if I did not have the shield, right? The shield used to be like +3, but now it's only +2. It's been nerfed. It's still pretty good for SSF players. Okay. Let's look at the flasks, right? Taste of Hate is enormous. If you've ever played a Pathfinder, I almost said Flask Finder. If you've ever played a Pathfinder, you know the Taste of Hate's busted. The way that flasks work in PoE, if you have increased effective flasks on you, increased effective flasks is anything that's a number on a flask. So if Taste of Hate says 50% to chaos or to 50% to cold resistance, it's going to give you more than 50 cold resistance because 50 is a number and you can increase a number. If I were playing a crit build, for example, and I took a diamond flask and put it over here, well, a diamond flask has the keyword, your critical strike chance is lucky. And the keyword lucky does not scale with increased effective flasks on you. But anything that is a number, such as gain physical damage as extra cold damage during flask effect, all of those numbers scale with increased effective flasks on you, right? So if I have 20% of physical damage from hits taken as cold damage during flask effect, if I have increased effective flasks, then I have even more than 20% of fizz taken as cold. So this by itself, my calculations with my normal stuff turned on right here, I'm currently about 21,000 effective HP. If I turn on Taste of Hate just by itself, I go up to 34,000. So just like that, it's pretty good, right? And beyond that, what else do I have for my layers of defense? I have a Granite Flask of Iron Skin. So this is plus 3,000 armor and then 81% increased armor during flask effect. Because I'm a Pathfinder, because I'm taking nodes on the tree that say increased effective flasks on you, all of those numbers, those numerical values on a flask scale because you're a Pathfinder. So I said before, I'm not acrobatics. Acrobatics would trim my armor, my default armor, from 2,500 to 1,200. So one of those reasons that we're not spending our skill points over here is Granite Flask of Iron Skin is really strong. So I'm opting to use that here. So I'm going to go back to no flasks turned on. I have 20.8, so about 21,000 effective HP against physical damage hits. If I turn on just my my Granite Flask, I have 48,000 effective HP. And all of a sudden you saw my armor on the left side here. It went from 2,500 to 21,000 just by turning on my flask, right? So I get a tremendous amount of armor out of just this flask here. So with the combination of both of these, all of a sudden, I'm at 77,000 effective HP against physical damage hits. So when I say like, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek response again, but like, what are your defenses? Flasks. Well, yeah, kind of. My flasks are really strong. With all the nodes that say increase effective flasks on you, with all the things like spiked concoction that gives alchemist genius to the build. It's a lot of synergy going on in the build here. The last thing that I want to point out, when we have things like Fizz taken as Ellie, if we have plus maximum elemental resistances on something like an On's Heritage or a Sappho's Frame, if we were using that, that also helps to mitigate the physical damage that we're taking as cold damage, right? think there's one more thing that we want to point out. My helmet that I'm using in game here that I'll point out for you is a little bit more of the same. I have 4% physical damage from hits taken as lightning damage. It's the best helmet that I've got so far because I'm SSF. So again, Fizz taken as lightning and then +2 maximum lightning res because I have the shield on. That helps to mitigate my physical damage. I rolled this, which is an insane chest piece because I had some essences laying around. So this has 15% of physical damage from hits taken as cold damage. You could get this on any kind of influence modifier. Like Hunter has Fizz taken as chaos. Redeemer has Fizz taken as cold. Shaper has Fizz taken as cold and lightning. All sorts of stuff like that. I just happen to use mine using an essence, which has, I think it's an essence of horror, maybe? Essence of horror is like physical damage from hits taken as cold damage, like you see here. So just by these two alone, I've got 20 Fizz taken, 15, so that's 35, 39 Fizz taken as elemental damage. But then I also have Flask Effect from the Taste of Hate, and then I have plus maximum resistances from On's Heritage. So yeah, it looks like my character is like kind of squishy here, and I've got some mind over matter going on here, but behind the scenes, I have a lot more defense that goes into it from like Flask Effect, Fizz taken as Ellie, stuff that you could only see in POB, you might not know to look for at first glance. I think that about covers it. Maybe. Let's see. What are the flasks here? Flask of Warding, immune to curses. Flask of Iron Skin, Flask of Adrenaline, Flask of Staunching. We have a Corrupting Blood Jewel in here. We're immune to elemental ailments because we're a Pathfinder here. I think that about covers it. 55% chance to avoid hits, right? Really? 55% chance to avoid hits comes from a little bit of evasion that I have, and also from my gear. I have a Void Sphere. Cast from damage taken Void Sphere with blind and culling on it. I'm in love with Void Sphere. I think Void Sphere is an amazing piece of utility, but I slapped blind on it. It has big AoE, it has big coverage, and it is similar to Orb of Storms, and it's similar to Stormbrand in that it pulses multiple times, and each of those has a chance of applying blind, right? So yeah, blinding stuff. If you're not Unwavering Stance, blind is an amazing layer of defense. Just a little bit of blind somewhere in your build does a lot. Cool. I think that about covers it. Really synergistic build here. This is not mine. The first person I saw play this was like Noogie in Harvest League, and I was like, wow, that build looks really good. My gear is trash compared to Harvest League, and even trash compared to like people who are playing in Softcore Trade League right now. But even then, this build's been really, really fun to play. My damage is about 1 mil for single target. I wish I had any kind of damage on my scepter. I have spell damage and a bunch of words that don't say anything, so I'm working on it. But even then, it's been really enjoyable. Wish I had a Crown of the Inward Eye. Wish I had a Crusader Anoint with a couple of gold oils. There's all sorts of stuff I wish I had, but it's a work in progress, and it's been a good time so far. Sound good? Cool. Good.